you've started music production, you've gotten pretty much all of your elements intact, but you're a little confused on melodies and how to create them. Today, I'll show you what tools I would use to bring my musical ideas to life as a beginner music producer. From choosing the right setup to unleashing your creative spark, I've got you covered. Plus, I've made a free, super handy PDF guide to follow along. Grab it from the description below. Tools you need to start creating melodies. Before we dive in, here's a quick rundown of the essential tools you'll need to start creating melodies. A DAW, digital audio workstation. I personally use FL Studio Producer Edition, but any DAW will work. A good mouse makes it easier for me to navigate through my DAW, and I think it'll help you a lot too. Next, you'll need a laptop or computer. This is our main workspace for making music. Then we're actually going to need creative energy. This is where our ideas come to life. It's important to not stress about perfection, even though I still struggle with that at times, but it's important to really have fun with this. All right, let's cover some fundamental terms in music theory to help you create your melodies. First of all, we'll go with a note. A note is the distinct sound produced by a specific key on the piano. So the note C, you can find over here. And then here's the note D. And then note E. All of these, even the black keys, are actually notes. So yeah, they're legit the building blocks. Next, we have a scale. A scale is a set of 8 notes that fit within a specific key. For example, the C major scale contains the following notes: C, D, E, F, G, A, B, yeah, and then we'll finish it off with C. And then we've got our key. The key of a song determines which notes and chords naturally fit together sound-wise. For example, if you're in the key of C major, your melodies and harmonies would focus on the notes that are specifically within that scale. So to break that down even further, if you wanted to make a chord within the C major scale, you would only want to use the notes within that scale. So let's say we want to make a C major scale, C, boom. And then if we wanted to make a minor chord within the C major scale, aka the A minor chord, we would do a ACE. These still fall within the key of C major, but they all end up having different sounding notes and different purposes. A major scale or chord has a more positive, bright, and happy feeling. G, B, D is another major chord that we can use within the C major scale. Now on to minor. A minor scale is more emotional or more sad sounding. An example of this within the C major scale is what we've covered, the A minor chord, A, C, E. So there are a whole bunch of possibilities, and what would be a great idea, if you do have a piano keyboard, check out how I learned piano improvisation. I'll put that in the description. Experimenting with different notes within the key or even outside the key has allowed me to understand note relationships a lot better and helps me predict what notes I want to hear next or what chords I want to create next. So that's very useful when creating melodies. Final term over here is rhythm. For rhythm, it is the pattern of sounds and silences within your melody, chords, bass, drums. Rhythm is all about timing. It's when your note starts, when it ends, and how long they last. So when we go talk about rhythm, I won't go into like the notations and all of that, but what would be useful is knowing that this is short and this is long. So the longer you hold the note, the longer it's going to last. So we can make a combination of short and long notes to make a melody that could sound like this. And the site that I'm using is Virtual Piano Keyboard. I'll also go ahead and link that down below. This is very useful if you don't have a piano yet, which I would highly recommend investing in one, at least a MIDI keyboard. Now, how exactly do we choose the right key or scale for our melodies? I find that choosing the right key can be a bit intimidating to me at times, but if I were just starting as a music producer with very little to no prior music experience, I would start with the C major scale. It only uses the white keys on a piano, so there's no need to worry about the black keys just yet. When building a full song, especially as a beginner music producer, I would make sure that my melody's key matches the key of my chords and bass line. Keeping everything in the same key helps to ensure that the music sounds cohesive and harmonious. Now, let's go step by step through how I'd create a melody from scratch. First, we're gonna choose a key. To keep things simple, we're going to start in C major. C major has the notes C, D, E, F, G, A, B, C. And then to actually help us out with choosing these notes and making sure that they match with the correct key, we're going to click this little caret over here. And then we're going to click on View. Then we're going to go to Scale Highlighting, and we're going to want to click on Major. Now we're going to go ahead and lay down a basic set of drums over here. So I'm just going to do a basic beat like this. And we'll do a couple of hi-hats over here. All right, we've got those drums. Then let's create some chords. Now, I'm going to just pull up FL keys and just have a piano. Now I'm going to use my MIDI keyboard just to create the chords real quick. But if you want a more detailed version on how to create chords, you can actually find that in day 4 of my 5-day series, which I will actually link below for you. I'll go ahead and create this real quick. All right, here's our chord sequence. Nice. All right, now we're going to go ahead and pick the instrument for our melody. For now, we're just gonna we're gonna just duplicate the chords here and just keep it a piano, but you can really choose any sound. I'm just choosing the piano for simplicity. We're gonna open our piano roll over here. Now, at this point, since it's all within the same pattern, I really like doing this, keeping the chords and melody in the same pattern, because now we can see the ghost notes of all of the other instruments within the pattern. So that means based on our chords, we can create a melody that kind of fits. I'm going to press play and try to hum this out. Da, 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 da. Da, 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 da. Okay. All right. Da, da, da. Now this is where I would usually use my MIDI keyboard, but we're just gonna click these in. Da 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 da. Then we're just gonna just press play to see if it matches what we want in our heads. Okay, obviously that's not it. We're gonna have to zoom this over. Nice. All right. Now, wherever there's not a note, this is what we call a rest here. Da 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 da. Okay, let's see if this is what we're going for. Okay, it's too fast. So now what I'm going to do is select some of these notes over here by holding Control and then right click and dragging and pulling this all the way over. And we're just kind of experimenting with where these line up and how they sound. Da 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 da. That. Okay, let's try that. All right, and also notice that I am not concerned about the note lengths right now. Right now, I'm just trying to make sure that the notes are lining up on the piano roll how I want them and how I want them to sound. So basically, the most important part of this is where the beginning portion of the note hits, if that makes sense. Okay, nice. There we go. Now what we're gonna do is actually kind of pull these note lengths out. So let's see. We want this E to last a little longer so it better connects to this C down here. And you know what? I think I'm going to lengthen all of these notes, especially the F and E over here. It doesn't seem as abrupt of an ending, and there's a smoother transition between the notes. And we're gonna, and I think we'll leave a little space here because I think it helps allow the melody to breathe a little bit. We're gonna hold this all the way out until that. Now, one thing that I would like to do, oops, is kind of harness a little bit of the power of silence here. So this is gonna be our first half of the melody, and this will actually transition me into the next part of creating a melody. Now let's pull this pattern out over here. Now let's hear what it sounds like. Okay, now that we've kind of created a melody, we're going to scooch this, create a second one over here. But now we want to make it a variation of the first one so that we keep interest. So here's how to create a melody variation in FL Studio. This is how I do it. So we're going to kind of duplicate this pattern. Well, not even duplicate it, but we're going to select it and just actually click on the next portion of our playlist here. We're going to click this keyboard icon right here. And then we're going to click Make Unique. And now, when we open this, when we reopen this, it's named to pattern 2, we have an entirely different set of chords and notes that we can work with without modifying our first set that we previously created. So now what we're gonna do, we're gonna go back over here to our melody. Let's go ahead and click that. This is a time where experimenting is really useful. Some ways I like to experiment is by changing one or two of the notes, like moving them up or down with different steps within the same key. And then I also kind of like to partially adjust some of the rhythms as well. So let's take a look. And I'm really liking the walking up and then a walk down. So kind of see this curve going, yeah, and then going a little up and then going back down here. We're actually gonna extend this down here since we're not playing the same note twice. Now let's see how it sounds like with our first pattern over here, because that's really mainly what matters, right? right, I like that. And I didn't really need to do too much with changing the note lengths or adjusting where the notes kind of go. But if I were just starting off as a beginner, I would really try practicing that and just seeing what types of melodies we can actually add within that same chord sequence. We'll come up with a new melody to see, just for an additional example over here. Okay, now let's pull up the piano roll. Let me hum out a tune and kind of experiment with it. Da, 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 do, 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 do. Now that one might be, I may have had some big dreams on this one, but we're gonna try it out. Let's pull it all the way back here. And one thing that's actually really useful is while humming it out, keep an eye out on what beats each of the notes kind of fall onto. So I'm noticing that here, when we do the do-do, do, 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 do. I think I've just changed up that melody a little bit, but close enough. So notice that it started that do-do started about here on this line. So we're gonna go ahead and try to find out which note I started on. And we're just gonna play around. Do. If I hold the note I was just kind of humming / singing and try to match it up with the piano roll over here, that kind of helps. Do, do, do. Now, one thing, if you're not seeing as many lines as I am here, these lines represent where your notes are kind of snapping to. Now, we can adjust this by clicking the snap to grid button over here. Now, we can change it to just the bar, which would be kind of useful for chords, like these chords over here, and then you really wouldn't have to drag them out. But this is our most general. We have the least amount of customization options over here, but it is the simplest. Then we can go over to our beat. This would kind of be useful a little bit for drums because the kick usually lands on each beat, at least da da da. See, like the boom choo boom choo. Okay, that was my replica attempted. Now, half beat is a little bit more specific. I like to use half beat, especially if I'm not doing as detailed of a melody over here. And I find that this usually suffices for most of my uses over here. So I was on the quarter beat. The third beat I don't really touch. Fourth beat, the quarter beat or whatever, is very, very more specific. But we'll go back to the half beat over here and keep adding our melody. Let's see. Okay, that's going to be those are too close together, so those are too close together, so we're going to kind of scooch these over by doing that control click and hold situation. Then we can move them over, which is fun. Okay. Now one thing, I don't like how it's not allowing me to put as many notes to the snap as I want. So now I'm gonna scooch over down to the quarter beat over here because I kind of wanted to do a do. Okay, we're gonna zoom in here. Let's see if this covers it. Nice. Much better. Now, as a nice little secret, if you don't want to go through all the snapping, or if the snapping's not quite working for you, you can actually move these notes manually to the left or right by holding down Alt, and then just dragging. And notice how it's separated from the snapping portion. You can just literally pop it wherever. Now, just be careful, because I find that when I try to do this and then I create another note, sometimes it doesn't necessarily land back on the snapping like I want it to. So you may need to do a zoom in and make sure everything is still lining up on the lines that you want them to. But I find that to be a very useful hack. All right, now let's go ahead and kind of adjust these notes a little bit, because I don't want these to overlap over here. We're gonna have this one hold. Otherwise it's gonna sound a little mushy. Let's see how it sounds now. Now also, if you want to adjust the note volume, the name to kind of adjust this is with the velocity. You can barely see it down here, but if you hit the control kind of caret at the bottom, you'll see all of these options. Just click on note velocity, and it should kind of be a grayed out velocity over on this side. Now, what you can do is control click and then just move this up and down. Each one of these volume knobs are going to be associated with the note that's directly above it, if that makes sense. So see how the A is connected to this line, the B over here, they line up. So now we can also just adjust these. Oops, just adjust these a bit. And then one thing I would also like to do is I don't like how the chords and the melody are kind of in the same frequency range, if that makes sense. I want the melody to be a higher pitch than the chords. The chords I want to be just a lower tone sounding. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to actually hold control and then press the up button, and then boom, it's up 1 octave, aka 8 notes. So let's go ahead and play this. Nice, that's pretty decent over here. Now, kind of similar situation. We want the second half to be slightly different, but also kind of matching in the same theme, if that makes sense. So I'm just gonna make some subtle changes by creating another variation here. So we'll take this pattern and click make unique. And it's still calling it pattern 2, so we'll just go ahead and click on the piano roll over here, and our melody pops up. So we're gonna do da, 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 da. Okay, let's see how that sounds. And I'm keeping the rhythms the same, because the rhythm, if I'm changing the notes, I try to keep the rhythms the same. As a general rule, of course, there are exceptions to that rule, but that helps keep the song sounding cohesive. Here's our first half over here. Now, something interesting, we can go ahead and actually disable our chords over here and actually we'll just control click on our melody number 2 to see how it sounds just by itself. Okay, that sounds pretty nice, pretty decent. I'm not exactly sure what you guys kind of want help with within the melody realm. So if you guys could just leave a comment below, and then I can go ahead and work on making some more videos for you. This is at least kind of the basic rundown of how I would create melodies as a beginner. So yeah, just let me know, please, and I will create some more videos for you guys. Thank you.